first presentation. That's vaccination and controversies in history. We are happy to have with us Dr. Ndaa Andre, who is the Director of Health Ministries Department in West Central Africa Division. We are happy to have you with us, Doctor. This vaccination issue has not been the first in history, and we are listening to you now.
You are so right, Elder Bakari, you are so right. I want to thank the Lord for this Zoom conference, and I welcome each one of you in the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ. In the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about the vaccination and controversy in history. We agree that vaccination is one of the top 10 achievements in public health, either in the 20th century or in the 21st century. Despite the progress made in the way we take care of disease, vaccination is still the most effective preventive measure in the history of humanity. We rarely say it's 100 times better to prevent than to cure. So vaccination is one of these preventive measures that has done so good to the humanity. Today, there are around 70 different vaccines approved by the Food and Drug Administration in the US, and 16 vaccinations are included in the children program of vaccination. Of course, all those vaccines are not available everywhere in the world, and they are not compulsory to each one of us. Vaccination contributed to the elimination of a few diseases, and we know about smallpox that was eradicated worldwide. Vaccination also provides important benefits in the reduction of the direct and indirect cause of illness. We can affirm, while discussing the topic vaccination and controversies in history, that in reality, we can say this is the controversial story of medicine's greatest lifesaver. The reasons for dispute are relative to morality, ethics, effectiveness, and safety. In this presentation, we are going to consider some of the major vaccination in the history of vaccine, see the controversy, and we are going to find out that even after the problem that started the controversy was settled, but the controversies continue. So we will not be surprised that today, with COVID-19, we have a lot of controversies. So let us start with smallpox. This is one of the first vaccines developed in England in the late 800s by Edward Jenner. That's the official person who developed it, but it existed before that time. It was effective in reducing the number of deaths from smallpox from 30% to 2%. So this vaccine was met with a lot of enthusiasm. European countries made the vaccine mandatory, compulsory, for the poor, for the armies, and for the common people. That decision kindled a lot of controversies. People said the method of inoculation was scary. The theory was developed that smallpox results not from a virus, but from a decaying matter in the atmosphere. Also, people say they have the God-given right to control their bodies and to control the bodies of their children. They also evoke personal liberty. And in several European countries in 1853, the smallpox vaccination was obligatory for infants up to 3 months. And then in 1867, a Vaccination Act was decided to extend to the children aged 14 or more. And a penalty was added to those who refused to get for the vaccination. In 1898, the penalties was removed, and they added a group of people that we can call conscientious object. It was a certificate that was given to some people who didn't believe in the vaccination, the vaccine safety. So the anti-vaccination activity left England and went to the United States in 1879. Studies were done, and that showed that what they were accusing the vaccine to do, to be, was not good, was not right. We'll go to the second vaccine, DPT vaccine. It is a vaccine against 3 infectious diseases. D is for diphtheria, P is for pertussis or whooping cough, and T is for tetanus. In 1970, there was an international controversy against DPT in Europe, in Asia, Australia, and North America. This vaccine, from a study made on 36 children, was accused to provoke neurological condition to those who receive it. There were documentaries on television and newspaper reports that got the public attention and kindled the controversy. As a consequence of that situation, the vaccination rates was dropped, and there were 3 major epidemics of whooping cough. It is later on that because of the epidemics that resulted from the lower uptake of the vaccine, it was made obligatory. There are a list of vaccines that are accused to provoke autoimmunity. One of them is the MMR vaccine. M is for measles, the second M is for mumps, and the R is for rubella. That vaccine was developed in the late 1960s. It contained live viruses, but they were attenuated. 500 million doses were inoculated in 60 countries. And during the 21st years of vaccination, 52 million children were saved from disease or from death. Despite the success of this vaccine, as I was saying, it was accused to provoke autoimmunity linked diseases, and it was accused principally to provoke autism. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition that has a strong genetic component and whose genesis begins in the womb while the woman is still pregnant. Despite all the studies that show that the MMR vaccine did not produce autism, but the controversy continued for a long time. We have thimerosal. Thimerosal is a is taken from mercury. It is an ethyl mercury product that is added to the vaccine to prevent bacterial contamination. Just imagine if a vaccine is contaminated, what it can do. So thimerosal is added to several vaccines and even drugs to prevent bacterial contamination. So the controversy again came up to say that thimerosal was producing autism and other neurodevelopmental disabilities. Again, a lot of studies show that thimerosal was not as bad as mercury itself. It didn't accumulate in the body to produce harmful effects. Despite all the studies, the movement against thimerosal continues. Now they were claiming for what they call greenhouse vaccines. It means remove all the toxin from vaccine. And finally, despite all the studies, the controversy continues. Another vaccine, well, we are not going to talk about one only, vaccines such as BCG for tuberculosis, smallpox, tetanus vaccine, pertussis, rubella, mumps, hepatitis B were said to cause autoimmunity problems. Again, there are epidemiological studies that have supported the hypothesis that this vaccine could not cause autoimmunity and autism problem. And then the controversy went down to aluminum in vaccine. You know, there are aluminum that contain, there are vaccines that contain aluminum as a booster, what we call an adjuvant, that it boosts the immune response from the receiver of the vaccine. So aluminum is present in some vaccines such as hepatitis B, hepatitis B, diphtheria, tetanus vaccine. And the allegation said the aluminum in those vaccines produce autoimmune diseases and other disorders. Autoimmune diseases are diseases provoked by the fact that the immune system of our body starts fighting about some body tissues and organs. And when these tissues or organs are destroyed, there may be a disease as a result. For example, diabetes may result from autoimmunity problems. But again, there were studies that show that the toxicity of the aluminum in the vaccine was not real. The level of vaccine is so low, and it cannot accumulate to produce all those effects they were accused to produce. Then there is the influenza vaccine that was accused to provoke the Guillain-Barré syndrome. The Guillain-Barré syndrome is a disease characterized by the attack of the nerve of the person by his own immune system. It is a disease that is well known and attacks mostly males, adult males. Yeah, adults and males. But the evidence showed that the Guillain-Barré syndrome did not come for the vaccine. And it was observed that the normal disease, the influenza infection, cause more Guillain-Barré syndrome than the vaccine. The disease itself produced more Guillain-Barré syndrome. The disease, they were saying, They were saying it was caused by the influenza vaccine. And the other vaccine is HPV. That's the human papilloma virus vaccine. That vaccine protects against cervical cancer in women following 2 injections of the vaccine that is called Gardasil in several countries. There are other names for other countries. So the vaccine is given to young girls aged 9 to less than 15 years. And they receive 2 doses to be protected. It was alleged that the vaccine produced autoimmunity diseases and other disorders. And we know in our African countries, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, and other countries, it was said the vaccine was made to sterilize girls. I remember when we sent the teams to go and vaccinate in school, girls would run out even from the windows to run back home, and we will meet parents that were so angry with the vaccination team because they will not allow their children to receive the vaccine in order to be sterilized. But we have a large evidence based on studies that found that increased risk of, excuse me, of autoimmune diseases or neurological problem or sterility is not true. And the other controversy is on pentavalent vaccine. Pentavalent vaccine, it contains protects against 5 major infections: diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, hepatitis B, and Haemophilus influenza type B. So this is a vaccine that is administered to children. So the issue, the controversy is that there are too many things inside that vaccine for small children. They cannot bear it. But we know from evidence that children have theoretical capacity to withstand 10,000 vaccines at one time. Children have that capacity. But despite all the proofs, it was not accepted. The controversy still continues. We all know about the controversies about COVID-19 virus. I will just mention some controversies. For the
5
last
minutes
2 years,
left, Pastor.
how much?
Please. 5 minutes, please.
Okay, I'm on time. So there are a lot of controversies. How did the COVID-19 virus originated from the first place? That's the subject of controversy. Other people say vaccines are produced to kill people in order to reduce the world population. That's another controversy. Another one, COVID-19 is connected to the 5G network. That's another controversy. And people say COVID-19 contains a microchip that helps control people remotely. They say when you are injected with the vaccine, there are people who can control you from distance. Some people also say, especially here in Africa, why should African countries have to wait longer while vaccine is already available in developed countries? Another topic of controversy are the vaccines in use in Africa of the same quality as those in use in Western countries. And some people even say there are new things that are put when they know that the vaccination is aimed for Africa, they will put things to just deal with us in Africa. Why should a vaccine that has not yet receive complete approval be mandatory. So we can add more and more controversies about the COVID-19. What we can see, what I can see, is that there is a major role played by media. 80 years back, there were no Facebook, no social media platform. We only used newspaper, radio, and television. They were not available for everyone. So controversies were not spreading at the light speed as they spread today. In conclusion, what I will say is that when I study the history of vaccine, I can see that there are two major things that emerge from vaccination controversy. The first one is the perception among critics that vaccines, individually or collectively, cause more harm than the disease they intend to prevent. So they say vaccines are more dangerous than the disease. The second issue, the second major issue in the controversy is that people think that the close association between the promotion of vaccines and the fact that vaccine has made compulsory, they can bear it, they can accept it. But the controversies on vaccination have three major consequences. The first consequence is the reduction of the positive acceptance of the vaccine. The second one is the decrease in the coverage and uptake of vaccine. The third one is that it increases the threat because people are afraid they can't go for the vaccination and they are faced with diseases and death because of this situation. At the end, when I go back to the history of vaccine, I see that thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have died. And some of them have suffered terribly because of the controversy about vaccine. As we can see, in relationship with vaccines, history keeps repeating itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor, for this presentation. We are grateful for this, and you have some questions. We will answer them at the end. We will refer them to you.